Hello again, I'm so glad you're back with me to continue this course, and I hope already it's shifting the way you think, feel and approach dressing. In this next module, I'm going to be teaching you about the main body shapes and their characteristics and the importance of understanding which you are, because it really is the starting place, the key to making your outfits work and create those stylish combinations you love. It'll also bring to life why perhaps it hasn't worked for you in the past and give reasons why you don't feel as good as you hoped in your clothes. With that, highlighting exactly what you need to do to make your outfit combinations work for you in the most flattering way, generating greater positivity, body confidence, and realising you are just perfect, just the way you are. So, would you know which body shape you are? Well, let's figure it out together. As you can see, there are 5 main body shapes: the hourglass or X, apple or O, pear or A, straight or H, strawberry or Y. And it is common that you can be one but also lean towards another, so don't get too caught up and feel like you have to be one. You could have different attributes of more than one. And as you'll see from the illustrations, the body shapes have quite a few different characteristics, which you'll see highlighted from the pink background. So just sitting back for a minute, is it any wonder then that when a person of one shape wears a particular style of item, why it might look slightly different to someone who has a different body shape? And it's because we are different. But we can get so caught up, as I mentioned before, seeing someone in an outfit that we fall in love with, rush to copy item by item, rather than what we should be doing is stopping and thinking, what would I need to create that outfit for me that flatters me? It's highly likely that if you're not the same shape as somebody, you potentially have different concern areas and you're going to need to do things in a slightly different way to perfect the outfit. So it's absolutely okay to like what someone else is wearing. In fact, it's great for inspiration and shows you what you like. But the key is to making it work for you, to suit your body shape, your needs, and address your concerns. You don't need to feel deflated when something doesn't work and be consumed by thoughts that you are the problem. And hopefully going through this course, you will see how far from the truth that is. Okay, so let's look at each individual body shape in more detail. First, we have the hourglass or X. Now, note here I have added the blue dotted arrow for illustration purposes, and the reason being is to highlight the width of each section. The hourglass, as you can see, the shoulders and hips are pretty much in equal width. The line is drawn almost straight down from the top of the shoulder and meets the side of the hip. And this is what we class as being well balanced, when the shoulders and hips are pretty much the same width and measurement, give or take 1 to 2 centimetres. And it is when our shoulders and hips are the same width in our outfits that we dress and feel our best. So we need to create this hourglass shape with our clothes and therefore create this well balanced silhouette. And achieving this is when we like our outfits and feel most confident, compared to when things are a little off balance, we don't feel as good. So for the hourglass shape then, the key is to follow the body's natural line to maintain this balance, being careful not to overemphasize either the top half or the bottom half, which, as I mentioned, can easily tip that balance when dressing. And of course you can see they have a nice waistline, so it's essential to always enhance and accentuate this, because being well nipped in and defined makes us also appear slimmer. So when we don't enhance it, it can make you feel bigger than you actually are. So next we have the pear or A shape. Unlike the hourglass, the pear silhouette, as you can see, shows a slightly wider hip measurement compared to the shoulders. Starting the blue line again from the top of the shoulder, it doesn't quite meet on the outside of the hip like the hourglass did. Instead, it touches the inner part of the hip. So as we can see, the hip extends a little wider. And as such, this shows that the pear is proportionately larger at the hip and has an imbalance compared to the hourglass, which is well balanced. The pear body shape then naturally has a greater curve at the bottom and hip and has a more delicate chest and softer shoulders. And as discussed, the way in which we feel best in our clothes is to create a balance, which is again when the shoulders and the hip are aligned with the same width. So for dressing the pear shape, we are looking to build up the upper body and add greater volume so that it visually widens the shoulder area to become more in balance with the larger proportionate bottom half. And again, we need to cinch in the waist to enhance it and create that shape and slimming definition. And how we do that will be covered off in Module 3. But for now, let's continue on and next look at the shape opposite to the pear, which is the strawberry or Y shape. And here you'll see illustrated the blue dotted line starts again at the top of the shoulder, and when drawn down the body, you'll see there is a gap when it reaches the hip. The line doesn't touch the hip at all, and so the measurements here show us slightly proportionate larger upper body when compared with the lower body. Now this strawberry or Y-shaped woman has greater curve at the top of the body and not so much on the lower half. And this is, as I mentioned, the opposite to the pear we just reviewed. So in order to build up the lower part of the body and visually widen the hip area, this is going to create that balance for the strawberry shape, aligning top with bottom and creating that balance. Unlike the hourglass and the pear, the strawberry doesn't have a very defined waistline, so we also need to create the illusion of one and make it more prominent to create that hourglass shape and slimming waist. And next we're going to move on to the apple or O shape. Now, as illustrated here, for example, the apple body shape, it's the middle or the tummy that is the wider part of the body rather than the shoulders and the hips. Now, shoulders aren't always well balanced with the hips. They can either be narrower or wider, but it is the middle that is proportionately larger for the apple here. The apple also tends to have a full and feminine chest and is less likely to have a curvy bottom, but boasts slender hips and legs. Now, for creating balance with the apple shape, what we need to do is to de-emphasize this wider middle section, and we'll do this by emphasizing another part of the middle, but it is the slightest part of the middle, which is just under the chest, creating an illusion of a nice and high waistline. And at the same time then, we're going to look to send focus down to the legs to balance with that full and feminine chest. So we're going to slim down the top and we're going to add extra volume to the bottom, which will then make all proportions be nicely well balanced. And last but definitely not least, let's move on to the straight or H body shape. And here you can see again from the blue dotted line that the measurements of the shoulders, the waist and the hips show little difference. And so there is no part of the body which is proportionately wider or smaller. They are all pretty well aligned, which sees this shape being straight up and down with little waist definition. Now, like we did with the pear, we added volume to the top of the body to widen the shoulder section. And here we're going to do the same, because this is going to create a wider upper body. We're also going to do the same with the hip section, such that visually widening the hip section. And with these two sections widened, this is naturally going to give a more slender and slight waist to create that definition. So now that we've been through the 5 main body shapes and learned what to do and how to make us feel our best, if you haven't uncovered by now which you are, I have 2 methods to share with you to really clarify and work out which body shape you are.